I've been seeing a lot of 1488s in New York lately. And I've had people tell me about how they saw 1488s in Brooklyn. We've had about 4 or 5 shootings of unarmed people since George Floyd. That's by cops. We're not even talking about the ones that happened by the white supremacist civilians. But there have been 3 lynchings by white supremacist civilians and a bunch of retaliatory attacks by white supremacist police. And like I said, law enforcement is filled with white nationalists. Flooded to the gills. Alright? Flooded to the gills. The FBI knows it, and they're not doing anything because they know that the military and the intelligence officers are also filled with white nationalists. Down in California, they lynched a guy. They lynched 2 guys. One of the guys that they just recently lynched had his brother killed in an ambush attack by unmarked cars. There was no shootout. There was no warning. There was no knock. I saw the entire video. They showed up, hopped out the cars, M16s, and shot up the apartment and killed him to send the message that this is a fucking race war. This is a race war. You had a guy out here trying to cover it up, trying to claim lies. Every time I talk the truth, he had the videos deleted. I see now why he was doing that. I see exactly why he was doing that. To cover up the fact that it was going to go here. I told you the great so what didn't turn out to work so well. I don't think they planned for this sort of response. Everybody turned up. 1488s joined in the protest with the engine provocateurs. Started smashing stuff up, so regular white people started smashing stuff up because they thought that's what you should do. And then they started supporting it. You had mainstream news saying, "Here, well, I understand why they're supporting stuff like this. I understand why they're smashing up stuff and fighting the cops and blah, blah, blah." They weren't expecting that kind of response. So what's happening now is they're out here getting revenge. This is not going to be a great so what, so they're like, screw it, we're just going to go out here and do it. So they're doing all these retaliatory lynchings, they're doing retaliatory shootings, they're beating the crap out of people, they're getting revenge. This is revenge. Whether you like it or not, they're out here getting full on, no games revenge on people. Now they had a guy up in Harlem, Fort Tryon, that's up in Harlem, they had that guy get lynched. And then like 2 days later, they hung a noose in Marcus Garvey Park. That was to send a message. So they're sending messages. And you got guys out here saying that certain guys having stupid ass dreams. We're just playing the game and all this. Understand this. No disrespect, guy, but they wrote the dream for him, the speech. They handpicked him because they knew his ideology. I already went through all of this. I've broken this all down. He was handpicked, he was propped up, he was manufactured. Just like Al was manufactured. Just like Jesse was manufactured. All these guys propped up, manufactured, keep an eye on, control the narrative of, and dissipate the energy of blacks. That's the whole purpose of these guys. And I've said that the March on Washington was hijacked by the government and made into symbolic BS. Black Lives Matter is the government. I already broke it down. I broke down the names, I broke down the dates, I broke down how they did it, how they used the media, how the media teams up with it to label any black person doing anything as Black Lives Matter, how they use Black Lives Matter as a catch-all term. It's all the government when it comes to that, and this because the cops are the government, the cops are propped up by the government, so it's all the same. These white supremacists that are in the government are getting revenge on you via the police because of the immunity that they have. As soon as people try to actually go after the immunity, they got the Supreme Court involved and was like, no, absolutely not. That was to make sure that no matter what, nothing happens. That doesn't go away, so the status quo maintains, no matter what. So they give all these BS symbolic gestures. They try all these BS deflection tactics, like the anti-trans work discrimination and anti-gay work discrimination BS. Let me tell you something, Jack. That was BS. If you discriminated against a gay in a workplace before they put that law in a couple days ago, you would have been fired. So it meant nothing. It's a BS gesture and it has nothing to do with what the movement was about, which was government tyranny, let's just be honest. That's what this is all about. It's about government tyranny. So now you have these white supremacists out get revenge, and they know that the blacks aren't going to really mobilize or move. They're sending out government agents to pretend like they're going to move. You got all these different things going. And they're setting up preemptive strikes. They gunned down that dude's house to show you guys the kind of firepower they're working with in California, because they know that blacks in California like to do stuff, handle the props, and get out to business. So what they're doing is they're showing you, look, we're going to get in here, we're going to do it, and we're going to go out. And that's what they did to Fuller's brother down in California after they lynched him for whatever reason. This is a full-on war with your own government. Same thing that they claim that Syria and Libya were doing is exactly what? It's exactly what we're doing here. Same thing they claim Gaddafi was doing is exactly what the United States government is doing here. It's what the government's doing here. So you guys are literally who they pretend they're fighting in Syria. You are who they pretend to fight in Iraq. Because they see you as an enemy, they see you as a threat. Separation, I mean, here's the thing with separation. You can go and separate, but it's not going to work. What happened in Tulsa, and I think they deleted my Tulsa video now that I think about it. But what happened in Tulsa, honestly, man, I should have known. They should have known better after what happened in Wilmington before that, what happened in Rosewood, what happened in Baltimore. They should have known. See, blacks had an airport. And blacks had a lot of connections with foreign nations at the time. They had connections with the Soviet Union. They had connections back then with France who would have helped them out. They had the connections with people who had their own airports, so they could have got out there, flown out there, brought stuff back, and been ready to go. And honestly, looking at how they were attacked, I'm starting to wonder if somebody was doing it. Because I noticed the same thing in Chicago. With Jeff Fort. Jeff Fort was an informant for the FBI. But after a while, he fell out of favor with him. So he got a bunch of weapons from Muammar Gaddafi. He had machine guns. He had M16s. He had, what else did they give him? Oh, they gave him Stinger missiles. They gave him all kinds of crazy ass weapons. Land air defense weapons. Like he was ready to go. So they shut him down and they policed the hell out of that place. And they made sure not to give blacks any sort of independent funding. Everything had to go through some BS organization like the NAACP, which was started by the Wedge to keep an eye on blacks. So understand, man, this is a well thought out, pre-planned war. And it's being executed right now. This is the execution stage. This is what old boy didn't want you to know about. This is the stuff I was talking about that he got deleted. And now we're in it. Now we're here. Bitch.